Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Bell. Today is Tuesday, September 24th, and we'll call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. As a reminder, our call-in number is 971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute your phones. You can do this by pressing star 6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak, again pressing star 6. It's very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. Well, we've called the meeting to order. I will welcome my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Scar, good morning.
Good morning.
And Commissioner Olson, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Bell. Nice morning it is.
It is. I agree. Thank you. Well, let's jump right in with Adventist South Tillamook and President Eric Swanson.
Hey, good morning, Commissioner. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. 20 patients in the hospital this morning, plus one brand new baby. We've got, yesterday we did 9 surgery cases. Ambulance crews did 10 911 transports, 1 transfer, 1 transport home. There's 102 patients boarding in emergency departments across Oregon this morning, 19 more than yesterday. And there's 328 patients waiting to be discharged, but no place to go. And that's no change from yesterday. And that's all I've got for you this morning, unless you've got questions for me.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Eric?
I'll have a question, as Commissioner Olson. Eric, it sounds like the statewide census, is that moving up or down, or can you see any kind of a trend on that? The boarding emergency room thing, I know that's been a problem for years.
Yeah, the peak for this year was on January 22nd, where we had 506 patients boarding in emergency departments. But it kind of waxes and wanes between the 300 range, trying to get those folks discharged. And same with the emergency department. They were the high on the emergency department was in January as well, January 18th, when we had 266 patients boarding in emergency departments. The main thing is getting patients out. We just can't. With the reduction in skilled nursing facilities and that are willing to take patients who no longer require inpatient care, that's really where the bottleneck is. And we're fortunate that we have some teams that work really, really hard to get our patients discharged appropriately to skilled nursing facilities. And unfortunately, many of those patients have to be transported out of Tillamook County because we only have basically one skilled nursing facility left in Tillamook County. So,
well, thank you. The reason I asked also is I keep hearing how difficult it is to either build a new hospital or expand a hospital, and then the same for the care facilities, and that Oregon is perhaps a bit too bureaucratic or demanding, and it's a business challenge to bring those facilities online. Do you see that getting better or worse?
I don't. At this point, I don't see it getting any better. The cost to build a hospital, and I'm using California dollars, so we're a 25-bed hospital. So we measure the cost of a hospital in beds, and that's inpatient beds. So in California, to build a hospital, it's $5 million per bed right now, and which is completely outrageous and unaffordable for most people, for most organizations that want to add. And that's part of the reason we've added some hospitals in California, like Montebello in Los Angeles. We took over the management of that hospital, and basically it became an additional 300 beds for White Memorial Hospital, which is about 10 miles away. It was just cheaper than trying to build a new tower or build additional beds on the White Memorial campus. So I don't see it getting any better. And with the razor thin margins that hospitals have today, it's really difficult to be able to go out and build a hospital.
Well, thank you, Eric. It just seems like we painted ourselves into a corner here, maybe on purpose, maybe not. Question for another day, I guess. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome, Commissioner.
$5 million per bed is a staggering number.
Yeah, I have
Oh,
to, I
wow.
can't even do that
Okay.
math in my head.
Yeah, that's wild. Well,
That
I
mu-
was at go ahead.
I was going to say that must be why aspirins are about $62.50 each.
I bet you're right. That's funny. Oh, well, here's a ray of hope. I was at an event last week, the open house for Bayside Commons, which is a workforce housing in North County, and the developer talked about being in negotiations, at least working toward a deal for the Nehalem Bay House, which would be amazing.
Yeah,
So,
that would
to
be
your
good.
point, Eric.
Yep.
Yeah, to your point, when an existing facility can be updated, it's really a much better deal for a developer or Advent itself than building from scratch.
For sure.
Well, thank you very much. Oh, I had a question for you. Anecdotally, COVID is increasing in the community. This weekend I was at an event, a public event, and heard that they had a whole bunch of people who were planning to come had to drop out at the last minute because they all had COVID. And I personally know several people have COVID. So what I'm wondering about is the severity of the disease and if the hospital is seeing people being hospitalized from it as it's moving around.
Yeah, and then again, that's the measure for me is are people being hospitalized? And we're just not seeing very many hospitalized, maybe one or two. It's being seen and being tested for in the clinics, but not people being sick enough to be hospitalized. I'm just trying to bring up the state's dashboard to see what they say. So today, there are 213 people hospitalized across the state with COVID, with a positive COVID test. That's 16 more than yesterday. And it looks like 5.6% of those are in ICUs. The rest are inpatients. And our peak was on September 1 of 2021. And we're only at 18% of that peak today, if that's helpful to you.
It is helpful. Yeah, it's very good news. So
Yeah.
I assume that it means that this strain is less dangerous, has less disease severity than the 2020. Did you say 2020 or 2021 strain?
21. Yeah, that's what my guess would be too.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Well, I don't know if we have folks with us from the Coastal Caucus. Do we have Senator Weber this morning? Because I know they're in session this week. Or Representative Javity? Well, if we don't have them today, I missed them on this call. Let's move on to Tillamook County Community Health Center.
Yep. Good morning. It's Ed Colson with the Health Department.
Good morning, Ed.
Good morning. September. We're still in September for a few more days. It's National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month. 1 in 5 children in the United States are obese. Childhood obesity puts kids at risk for health problems that were once seen only in adults, like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. The good news, childhood obesity can be prevented. We encourage all to take action this month by learning more about childhood obesity, ways to prevent it, and how to raise awareness. Visit our Facebook page for resources, and as always, our healthcare providers are here to help patients of all ages set healthcare goals, manage health conditions, and help all to live the healthiest life they aim to achieve. So please call us at 503-842-3900 to schedule and take advantage of our Wellness Exam Incentive Program by having your visit before the end of the year for a promotional gift card opportunity. Now, since we were talking about COVID, we do have vaccine clinics that are coming up. Community walk-in clinics are on the schedule. The first clinic is on October 21st at the Tillamook County Fairgrounds and will run until November 7th. You can check our Facebook page or website for more clinic dates that will be held in all areas of the county. At these vaccine clinics, the flu shot and the updated 2024-2025 mRNA COVID-19 booster that was approved by the FDA on August 22nd, 2024, will be available for all people 6 months old and older. The pneumonia vaccine is also available for those 50 years old or older. If you'd like your pneumonia, flu shot, or COVID-19 vaccine sooner, please check with your healthcare provider and local pharmacies. Vaccine protection decreases over time, so it's important to stay up to date with annual vaccine boosters. Now, we're pleased to share that we are moving towards opening a pharmacy in our community. Last week, the Board of County Commissioners approved a lease agreement for a building at 800 Main Avenue in downtown Tillamook for a future Tillamook County Community Health Center's pharmacy and adjoining clinical services. Next, we are working on a contract with a professional pharmacy provider for pharmacy services at that location, which is expected to go to the Board of County Commissioners in the coming weeks. The goal is to open this pharmacy by spring 2025 as an additional resource to support people in Tillamook County in meeting their medication needs. And as we brought out last week, a week ago or so, we recently hosted the first ever Tillamook County Emergency Preparedness Summit. This day-long event brought 50 people representing around 30 local organizations in Tillamook County, which included nonprofits, local government, public safety responders, and community volunteers, together to plan for making our community safer and healthier during disasters and emergencies. The summit was a proactive step in developing more coordination and communication during emergencies. And we also highly encourage individuals and families to be ready and be able to support themselves in the event of an emergency. One way is to prepare and participate in the upcoming Great Shakeout Earthquake Drill on October 17th at 10:17 a.m. Join millions of people worldwide in practicing drop, cover, and hold on. Mark your calendars and visit www.shakeout.org for instructions on how to plan your drill and get prepared. And that is our health department update. I'll turn it back over to you, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Ed. Do we have any questions for Ed? If not, I really appreciate your report. Thank you. And the news about the pharmacy is very exciting. Well, let's move on to Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Gail. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and congratulations to Tillamook County Community Health Centers for their announcement this morning about the pharmacy. Here in Wheeler, I have 3 announcements for the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. First is our Homeless Connect event, which was not our event, but we did participate. Our outreach team and one of our behavioral health providers attended a Homeless Connect event at Nehalem Bay United Methodist Church yesterday, along with several other organizations that provide services here in North Tillamook County. And also, Back to School continues. Our care team from the Nia County Student Health and Wellness Center is participating in several events, Back to School events being held at the Nia County School District this week and also last week. As you remember, we are the sponsor for the Nia County Student High School and also the other campuses there at the Nia County School District. And attending these events provides an opportunity to meet with parents and students to share information on the services available. And finally, another construction update. Construction crews continue. It's coming along very well. The plumbing and electrical rough-ins have been completed, and crews will begin to pour the concrete this week on the retaining wall on the east edge of the property and the building's electrical room. So everything is still on track for the planned October 2025 opening. And that's it for me this morning, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Gail. Do we have any questions for Gail? Well, I live in North County, so I drive by the construction site regularly, and it is very exciting. It's really, it's thrilling to just to see it go up and understand, think about what it represents to the community. And it's also very heartening that the community supported that with a construction bond. The community is fully invested in that facility. So I think it's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, let's move on to Tillamook Family Counseling Center and Frank Hanna Williams.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Frank.
Frank Hanna Williams, Director of Tillamook Family Counseling Center, Behavioral Health Services for Tillamook County residents. You can reach us for information about any of our services, information about appointments by calling 503-842-8201 or 1-800-962-2851. Just a couple of quick announcements and comments. We were very pleased yesterday to have one of our prevention staff, Sarah Ermer, actually was up in North County yesterday to present and for the QPR training, question, persuade, and refer. And we were actually able to train all of the staff in the Nia County District, and we're pleased to be able to do that, and would entertain other opportunities across Tillamook County if you have a concern and want to support your staff in learning some of the skills that could be very helpful with someone who may be expressing concerns and issues related to self-harm. And so to be able to do that yesterday was very exciting, and we look forward to being able to provide QPR training across Tillamook County. I think that we were looking at some of our numbers, and over the past few years, we have been involved with training probably 400 individuals across Tillamook County. So look forward to that, and I know that September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, but this is an issue that goes beyond just 1 month. And if you drive by our office location in Tillamook, you'll see that right at the corner there at 904 Main we're in the process of renovating that location, and that is going to be the future home of our unit that provides services to those who are developmentally disabled and their families. And that renovation is moving along very well, actually, and we are anticipating that by the end of the year, target date is December 31st. On or around that time, that renovation will be completed, and that unit will be moved in. So that's my report for today. And if you have any questions, I can take them.
Thank you, Frank. Do we have any questions for Frank? Well, I think it's wonderful that Sarah Ermer from Tillamook Family Counseling Center was able to do QPR training with all of the staff at Nia County. It's just great. I've said before that I've taken the QPR training with Sarah, and it was really, really good. I encourage people who haven't done it to do it, to sign up. It was just a couple hours. It was very helpful and informative, because every one of us has encountered somebody who is severely depressed. Just statistically speaking, we all have, and we all may very well have encountered people who we were afraid that they might be suicidally depressed. And so to be able to just have a few tools in your pocket and a little level of comfort about how to talk to people under those circumstances, to be able to say, oh yeah, I remember when we, in that QPR training, I know what to ask. It's very helpful. So thank you, Frank, for your service to the community and providing QPR training. And I just really want to encourage folks who are listening to take it. It's 2 hours out of your life, and it could help save a life.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome. Well, let's move on to emergency management and Randy Thorpe. Do we have Randy with us this morning? Well, I can give a brief emergency management update. Yesterday, we had Tillamook County Communicators Group, Emergency Communicators Group meeting, where we are putting together a plan for how to effectively communicate with one another and with the community in emergencies. And that's communication has always been something that in after action reviews in emergencies, it comes up short consistently, for not just with Randy, but consistently. At least since I've been a commissioner, everybody has always felt like there were gaps in communication in the process. So the Tillamook PUD graciously put together this group. They're hosting a group, and we get together and meet. And yesterday we were talking about the plan and how it should work, because the people who are represented there are all leaders in their organizations who have their own communications to do in an organization. So, for example, PUD does their own communication in an emergency. And the county, of course, we communicate in an emergency. The sheriff's office communicates in an emergency, etc. But there needs to be a hub of communication where all of those impacted organizations and the community themselves, individuals in the community, can find one source of information. So we were at that meeting yesterday. My heartfelt thanks to PUD and Joanna Stelzig and Landon Myers for hosting that group and getting us together. We're just doing really good work, and also they feed us lunch, which is very nice. So I thought that was terrific. And if Randy is not with us this morning, let's move into the Board of Commissioners updates and start with Commissioner Scar.
Good morning. Thank you. A couple of things for this morning. We had the opportunity last Wednesday, I think we told you all we were headed there to go out in the forest with representatives of the Department of Forestry. It was great to be able to be on the ground in the forest, getting time in the pickups to ride along and ask a lot of questions about our forests, about how they're managed, how they're harvested, how the planning happens, what the impacts are of the Habitat Conservation Plan, and then to actually see what that meant on the ground. So that was really, really helpful. We know from the planning documents that Tillamook County's forest has always had about a third of our land in Tillamook County that is inoperable. And that's because it's exceptionally steep. It is just someplace you can't get to or can't log with any economic win, basically, because of the steepness and or how far into the forest it is and the roads you would have to build and all of that. By the time you did it, it wouldn't be profitable. So we have a lot of our forest, that's 1/3 of it, that's preserved by its very nature of being inoperable. What we know from the Habitat Conservation Plan is that about another third of it has been protected in order to support the habitat of the ESA listed species. So those that are endangered species under the Endangered Species Act. Sorry, shouldn't use acronyms. So at this point in time, that puts about 2/3 of the Tillamook State Forest in a position where it's not being commercially harvested. And so it was interesting riding along as I listened to our forestry folks talk about basically the timber that we can't harvest, the commercial operations, what they consider their timber farm. So 2/3 of our forest is protected and 1/3 that functions as a timber farm. So it was interesting to me, having been in these habitat conservation conversations, to really get on the landscape and see what that meant, because we saw some of the inoperable areas. They were able to point off into the distance at very steep landscapes and say, that's one that will never be harvested. Similarly, as we stood at a clear cut, we were able to look at and see the areas along the waterways that were not harvested and will never be harvested because they are the buffer zones, and able to talk about the increase in those buffer zones under the Habitat Conservation Plan. So just the buffer zones alone, according to the commercial sales manager that I was talking to, take about 10% off any given sale because we have added to the buffer zones. So, we can begin to see where the Habitat Conservation Plan is holding us sort of accountable to environmental needs, but also is costing us in the financial realm. So it was really, again, helpful for me to see all of that on the land, to visit with our interim district forester about that, as well as the commercial manager. Just good information. Tillamook County, we are a strong timber county, but our timber in general is less valuable than timber in other parts of the state forest because of the after effects of the Tillamook burn. Our trees go more slowly, they don't grow as large, and so we have a little bit different marketing challenges because we have a lot more alder on the landscape, and there isn't currently a good market for alder. So again, just things that really help me understand when we're talking at the Board of Forestry or in the modeling that the department is doing, making sure that I know the right questions to ask about how have they adjusted modeling for the Tillamook problem, as they call it, and similarly for the Board of Forestry, so that I can ask the right questions. So I want to thank the Department of Forestry for spending a half a day out in the forest with us. It was really, really good learning, I think, for all the commissioners, but I can certainly speak for myself. So that was a great opportunity. Shifting gears quickly, we have the legislative days at the state today in Salem, as Commissioner Bell referred to, is why we don't have our senator and representative with us this week. And they are in committee meetings listening to important information to help prepare them for the session, prepare them for bills that will come in front of them during the session. And I want to highlight one particular committee, which is the Joint Committee on Transportation. Today at, on their agenda, it is at 3:00. They will hear from county governments regarding our needs for roads. And I mentioned this, I think, last week. So I wanted to highlight that meeting is actually tomorrow. Sorry if I said today. That meeting is tomorrow. It begins at 2:30. It is live streamed on the Oregon State Legislative Information System, or OLIS, as you hear us refer to it. And you can find OLIS easily online by typing in OLIS Oregon, and it will give you a link that you can follow to that page. If you want to watch this briefing, you can certainly do that, and we encourage you to do that. It's going to be very informative as to county road conditions all across the state of Oregon, and informative to what we will be asking for alongside ODOT in relation to transportation funding in this coming session. So OLIS, Joint Committee on Transportation, you can click right through and it'll give you the link that you would need to watch that tomorrow. So I think it's really important. One of the things, I'll give you a couple stats for Tillamook County, and I'll try to remember which ones I give you today so I don't give you the same ones every week, because we are going to talk about this on a fairly regular basis heading into session as well as during session, to let you know how it's going. But Tillamook County has 363 miles of roads. We have 45% of our roads that are considered to be in good condition. So that would be 55% that are not in good condition. We have 118 bridges, and currently 8 of those are structurally deficient bridges. So as we look at funding coming from the state level in order to upgrade our system, maintain our system, and just keep you all driving on the roads, this is a really important legislative session for us, and it's really important that as this bill moves forward for ODOT, that counties are a part of this and that our funding is not stripped out of it or forgotten. So with that, Commissioner Bell, I will return it to you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar. And Commissioner Olson.
Oh, good morning again. I do have a few things to mention this morning. First, my wife and I attended a little birthday party over the weekend for a good friend we've known for about 20 years, and it happened to be his 100th birthday. And I mention that only because I looked it up, and only about 1 out of 5,000 people gets to celebrate a 100th birthday. And so I think, I guess the conclusion you can draw from that, his mother also went beyond 100, as did a sister and an aunt of his. And so there's something to be said, I think, for genetics. So it may not be absolute scientific proof, but the fact that a good number of his family lived beyond 100, I guess, speaks to something, the genetic component. But a good time was had by all. And it also, when we sat around, in this case, it was sitting next to a swimming pool and a little outdoor area. And I was thinking of all the people who were there, and there were probably 30 people. Nobody cared about, what your political views are or other things going on in the world. We're just celebrating a human being who lived to be 100, and a good time was had by all. And I'm wondering if maybe we ought to have a few more days like that. So next, I'll move on to some local issues. The Kiwanda parking lot at Cape Kiwanda is now fully complete. Everything is open, including the restroom facility. And there've been a few questions that have come up along the way, and I've heard some, and I think Rachel, our chief of staff, has heard more. And so I'll put to rest a couple of the questions. One is, how was the lot paid for? It was paid for entirely by Tillamook County, and including that was permitting, engineering, construction costs, and it came mainly from revenues from the transient lodging tax, some state grants, and then there's also been, and it's now back in force, some parking fees at several parking lots in Pacific City area in Tillamook County. So the question was, did the Pelican Brewing, which is right adjacent, pay for it? The answer is no. They did not. It was paid for by people who were there and also got guests to our part of Oregon. And the number of parking spots keeps coming up, and I believe there's a story in the Pacific City Sun last week, but there's actually a small increase. It went from 126 to 131. There are a number of, I think, charging stations now. I think it's around 7 or 8, and so also some parking for disabled, ADA type parking. But the actual gross number, there are more spots by a relatively small number. And the fees are now back in force, which was adopted by the county a couple of years ago. And they were suspended basically all of this year during the construction of the site. But now everything is open, back in full force, and you will need either a parking pass or pay the fee. And another question, could you use your parking pass that you use elsewhere for boat launches and so on? And the answer is yes, you can. There are probably some other questions too about the drainage system that was completely revamped and now drains properly, and the types of asphalt and the sloping, all those kinds of things. And I guess my answer to that would be, go down there and have a look for yourself. It really, really is an attractive finish. There's some planters. Everything is clearly marked. And the restroom that was at the front of the lot, meaning closest to the road, is now a bit closer to the boat ramp, which leads to the beach. And that's the main boat ramp where the dorymen take their boats down to the beach and then launch directly into the ocean. So done. And there's a open house, or I should say really a ribbon cutting this Friday at 4 o'clock. And there will be some light refreshments from our neighbors at the Pelican Pub. They've graciously volunteered to step up and provide a few goodies. I don't know if there'll be any alcohol there. They are a brewery, but nonetheless, I'm sure they'll have some snacks and some kind of a beverage. And so you might as well, if you're down in that part of Tillamook County, you might as well go visit, because it's a beautiful facility, well done. And it's part of a much longer plan to make a number of improvements all along the coast in Pacific City, going clear down to Bob Straub Park. Some of those include some additional parking. The Jensen property will be further developed. They'll be dealing with the intersection at the Beachy Bridge and Cape Kiwanda Drive, and then on down Sunset, which has been repaved, clear down to Bobstraw Park. So lots more to come on that one. I will go back and mention, as Commissioner Scar did, on our forest tour, it was really quite fascinating to hear all that. But one of my takeaways was when you talk to the people who work for the Oregon Department of Forestry, they are dedicated career positions. They're educated people. A good number of them have degrees in silviculture, and they can tell you at what angle a needle will grow on a particular species of tree. And so they evidently studied all that in college, and they know a great deal about it. And as Commissioner Scar pointed out, this is a working forest. It's a commercial forest. It's not an old growth second save it forever forest, although parts of it now are off limit, as was pointed out. But the workers out there, you may think they just drive around in pickup trucks and looking for spotted owls or something. This forest is very actively managed. These people know what they're doing. They know how to market it. They follow the markets all around the West and perhaps even the world. They can tell you a great deal about a tree growing in our forests. And so it's really quite fascinating to listen to them explain some of the details of how all that works. So while I'm on the subject of forests, the U.S. Forest Service, and that's the federal, is having an open house or a public meeting, I guess we'd say, at 6 o'clock a week from today in Pacific City at the Kiwanda Community Center. And this has to do with the trail system that's being developed in the Siuslaw National Forest. Again, this is national, not state. And the county's position on that is I will be moderating a hearing or a public meeting where the Forest Service will explain what they're doing and over what the timelines are and access points and all of that. And then there'll be a lengthy session of question and answers. And there've been quite a number of questions that have come to the county. And I've ended up with most of those questions. And the answer is that this is a federal project. The county really has relatively little to say about it other than the roads and the traffic patterns and maybe some safety and things that will go on in addition to the development in the Siuslaw Forest. So sometimes the best way to work through these issues is put everybody in a room and give them a cup of coffee or a cookie or something and let the people who are doing the design work talk about it and then take questions and have a civilized conversation over an hour or two. So that meeting will be at 6 o'clock on a week from today, October 1, at the Kiwanda Community Center in Pacific City. And that will follow another meeting we're having the same day at 12 noon. The Pacific City Nestucca Valley Chamber will have a fall candidates forum, and that's all set to go. That'll go for a couple of hours. We'll have the sheriff there who's unopposed and the county clerk who's also unopposed. But we will have both candidates for House District 32, including the incumbent. And then we have two candidates for the district that includes South County for Tillamook PUD. We'll also have a discussion on Measure 29180, which is the ballot measure asking voters to fund a new radio system, public safety radio system for the county. And so we'll be talking about that and also have a bit of a conversation on some of the 5 state measures that are before voters. So we'll spend a couple of hours doing all that. You'll get to meet the candidates, ask them questions, get their literature if they have any, and probably know a great deal more after a couple of hours than you do when you started the meeting at 12 noon. So a couple of other quick items here. We're still working on the budget and what a way forward to keep things in balance, both for this year and maybe more importantly for years to come. So more to come on that one as we move through the next weeks and months. And we'll also spend a little more time maybe next week or in a couple of weeks talking more about the radio bond because the ballots will be out in the middle of October and we want to be sure everyone understands exactly what's being asked for and then if successful, what will the money fund. So I think, Commissioner, that's about all on my list today, so I will hand it back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have Commissioner-elect Paul Fournier on this morning? I didn't talk to him about coming, so I don't know if he was planning on it. Going once, going twice? Well, Paul, if you're with us, feel free to jump in, and I will talk for a few minutes about my subject here. I appreciate my colleagues talking about the Oregon Department of Forestry tour that we all went on last Wednesday. It really just was outstanding. So my thanks to the local ODF office, to Kate Skinner and Ed Walmark, and to the staff there who took us on this tour. It was very, very informative and fun. I love to be up in the forest, so that part was really fun for me. And it was fascinating because they had prepared maps for us that showed us, for example, what, given the Habitat Conservation Plan, what their plans are, which areas of the forest they're planning for harvest, which will be off limits because they'll be conserved areas, which are available for regular, in air quotes, normal sort of harvest. And then also they talked to us at length about how some mitigations. So there are some areas that they'll be able to harvest, but the way that they harvest has changed because of the conservation plan. And that was very interesting, like bigger borders on streams and more trees left standing, etc. And so they talked us through what the changes look like for them on the ground doing operations. And it was very interesting. And it was also heartening in the sense of, this is lemons to lemonade. As Commissioner Scar was saying, there's a lot of Tillamook County forest that's really not as, again, air quotes, valuable as other parts of the forest because it's more slow growing, more difficult to harvest, steeper terrains, etc. And we have Swiss needlecast and a lot of alder. So in the past, those things have counted against us in terms of harvest, but actually, here's the lemons to lemonade part, actually that will serve to our advantage financially in the coming maybe 3 decades is what they're planning, because there's no point in conserving Swiss needlecast timber, and there's no point in conserving alder. And those are marketable products. They may be worth less. They may be having trouble even finding a market for alder right now, but still they plan to harvest those continually because there's no interest in conserving them. So that was, a little bit encouraging, and it was just very informative, and I was very grateful to them for spending half a day touring us around in the forest. It was really educational. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the open house I attended for Bayside Commons in Nehalem last week. That's very exciting. It's a workforce housing project in Nehalem off of 101 in the Bayside Gardens area between Nehalem, downtown Nehalem and Manzanita. And it's 24 units, and a bunch of folks showed up for the open house. People haven't moved in yet, but construction is complete. They're wrapping up their leasing process. So it's 24 units. They, not surprisingly, had at least 3 times that many applications that they were working through. So they already have a lengthy wait list. The units were lovely, so nice. They're, just really pretty big windows, corner. They designed it so that everybody has a corner unit, big windows, lots of light, nice kitchens, nice finish. It was really very nice. And that is for workforce housing. Tillamook County supported the project with incentives for workforce housing and for developing workforce housing. We've talked about it before in our meetings as they went through the application and approval process for for the incentives that we are able to provide through the Department of Community Development. So I was really pleased to see how the county has been able to support that project moving forward, to see it come to fruition. And also lots of other organizations have helped that project, including CARE Inc. CARE was there, and a lot of other organizations. The Northwest Oregon Housing Authority, that director, Andy Shaw, was there because they provided support for the majority of the units will be workforce housing, which is 60% of the area median income. And then a small number of those units are for people who are at 30% of area median income. And so Northwest Oregon Housing Authority supported that. But it was just wonderful to see the result, to see how very nice these places are, to think about that many families who are working families, because that's what it's meant for, workforce housing, working families in North County to have the opportunity to live there. So thanks to everyone who has worked for years to bring that together. And as I mentioned earlier, the developer was talking about being in negotiations to see what is possible with the Nehalem Bay House. So that's very exciting because that facility has been closed for a while and the community certainly needs it. So I also wanted to talk about a couple other events I attended over the weekend. I went to the YMCA annual dinner, which was delightful. Commissioner-elect Paul Fournier was there serving food. Nelia Saratista reached out to him from Pacific Restaurant and asked him if he would come and be part of her crew. And so he was there serving, which was delightful to see him. And of course, our Coastal Caucus, Senator Weber and Representative Javity were there, but the place was packed. I bet there were over 300 people there. And the theme was Peter Pan, Never Never Land. And I tell you, the decorations were so over the top, amazingly great that I recommend that you get on Facebook, look up the Y, and see some of they have some videos on there of the decorations. I mean, it was amazing and artful and magical, and I will not be able to adequately describe how great the decorations were. So bravo to Susie Burt, was part of that team, and Eric Sappington and everyone else who worked on those decorations, which were awe-inspiring, truly. And Kaylin, of course, was extremely fun. Kaylin from the Y is just a remarkable human, and he does an amazing job at everything he does, including hosting that event. So he was really fun. And, just the generosity of the community, the generosity of our community is remarkable. There were so many people there supporting the Y, supporting programming for children and adults and locals. And it was just really heartwarming that so many people support the Y. So that was great. And I also had the opportunity before the Y auction to go to the Tillamook County Soil and Water Conservation annual meeting, which was outstanding. I was so glad I was there. And that was the event that I mentioned earlier where a number of people couldn't go because they had COVID. But so it wasn't quite the group they were expecting, as many people, but it was still an excellent group. And I loved everything about that event. And thanks to Ray Monroe for inviting me. I got to sit with Rudy Fink, who works on that board. And Rudy, this week, Rudy Fink turns 98. And so I want to say a big public happy birthday to Rudy Fink on your 98th birthday this year. You are a treasure in our community. I hope somebody tells you that I talked about you on the radio this morning. I think these broadcasts are recorded and podcasted. Maybe somebody can play it for Rudy. It was such a pleasure. I got to sit with Rudy at his table, and it was such a pleasure to talk to him for an hour or so and hear his memories he's just sharp as a tack. And here his memories. He told me about serving in Guam in World War II as an 18-year-old and how traumatic that was. And he talked to me about the Tillamook burns, his recollection of the Tillamook burns. And I realized I've never talked to anyone before who remembers the Tillamook burns. And he talked about how the dairy industry, the local dairy industry, has changed in his lifetime. And that was fascinating. He talked about how many farms there used to be and how many cheese factories there used to be and how they used to do things. And it was extraordinary to have an hour to spend with somebody who has about 95 years of memories. So that was a treat. It was really, really delightful. And the program was good. It was interesting. And I'll wrap up with this. Larry Zweifel and his wife Pam were there. They're on the board. And Larry offered a prayer for unity in these divisive times. And that prayer, that theme has stuck with me since then, which is just was a gift to me. And so I offer that hope for our community, for unity in divisive times. And I will wrap up with that and move on to the cities. Do we have someone on from the city of Manzanita?
Yes, you do. Good morning, Commissioner. This is Catherine Stock, Mayor of Manzanita. And I've just got a few updates for this morning. Good morning. A few things. We have the honor of being one number sooner on the ballots compared to the initiative for the radio system that Commissioner Olson's been speaking about. So we do have a citizen-initiated referendum that will be on the Manzanita ballot, measure number 29-179. And that has to do with a potential change in our billing cycle for water. Citizen got the requisite signatures, and so that is on the ballot. So council members and myself have been busy doing update sessions on that for the community. And if anyone hearing this is interested in learning more about that referendum and what it means, you feel free to attend. We've got a number of sessions for the next couple of weeks through mid-October. They're all posted on our city website, and 2 of our members of council will be there at each of those times to take any questions, listen, hear any discussion points people have, or any concerns that folks might have one way or the other. So we've got that going on. And then I'd just like to say, sometimes just steady Eddie is never an exciting update, but I'm happy to say that our city hall construction project moves on in a steady Eddie sort of fashion, and we're still very much on track to be in there next summer. As you come by the site, which is just a little off the 101 in Manzanita, you can now start to see walls going up, which always, I think, makes people feel better about a project because there's so much work goes into the foundations and the electrical and all the planning they have to do. And so for a while, it can look like very little is happening when, in fact, a great deal has been happening. But now it will be visible to folks just driving by. So we're pleased about that. And last week, we wrapped up our final market for the season. The farmers market here is become a beloved institution, and we'd like to thank everyone involved with that. Kendra Hall, who's been a terrific manager of that market for the last couple of years, and a tireless promoter and worker to get it in an even better place every year. We'd also like to thank all of the people who come, the small business owners and the entrepreneurs who come from near and far to participate in that market. So we closed it down last Friday, and I'm already thinking of putting it on my calendar when it will open up because it's definitely a lovely part of the summer and early fall season here. So that's it from Manzanita. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I also congratulate you in the conclusion of market season, you and the community. The Manzanita Farmers Market is delightful. And I know everybody loves their own farmers markets. Tillamook is amazing, etc. But I live in North County, so Manzanita is the one that I get to go to most often, and it really is a treat. So congratulations to everybody. I have a friend who's a vendor at the market, and I talk to her over the weekend, and she was just telling me it was the best market ever, and she loved the relationship she had with the people around her booth and the customers and the energy of it. And so it really, I love how farmers markets have developed in Tillamook County in the last 10-ish years. And they're not only economic drivers, but real community builders. And I love that about it. So thanks. And thanks for the construction update. That project is also very exciting. It's really cool to see it coming together.
Thank you.
Well, let's move on to the city of Nehalem. Do we have anybody on from Nehalem? Or Wheeler? How about Rockaway Beach?
Good morning. This is Mayor McNeely from Rockaway Beach. Did I get off of mute?
Good morning, Mayor. We can hear you.
Great. All right. Public Works wrapped up installation of a new, larger drainage culvert under South 2nd Avenue near Coral Street. The project will be completed once the asphalt patch over the trench path is laid sometime in the next few weeks. And of course, stormwater will drain faster in this area of town. Excited to announce that the city rolled out our new short-term rental annual license renewal process through Granicus on September 13th. Short-term rental owners can now renew, pay, and make updates to their license online. This new process is quick and convenient. Many of the owners have been able to complete the process in around 5 minutes. The city will still allow short-term rental owners to complete these tasks over the phone or in person if they are more comfortable doing it the old-fashioned way. Let's see, on September 30th, Monday, the city will host an engagement session for the EPA Community Change Grant at 5:30 p.m. in City Hall. The EPA Community Change Grant is an opportunity that has the potential to provide funding for the acquisition of the full Jetty Creek watershed, as it provides funding between $10 and $20 million per project. Sustainable Northwest intends to work with the city to develop a grant application. Community engagement in this process is vital to ensure the application is aligned with the goals of the Rockaway Beach community. Community participation will help the city and Sustainable Northwest identify priority items needed for the application. Please see the new section on our city webpage for details, and of course, join us that night to hear more. Let's see, Councilor McGinnis was invited to join the Tillamook County Housing Legislative Committee as a committee member. This committee is part of the Tillamook County Government Advisory Committees. Their function is to identify and promote legislation and bills with the state legislature impacting low-income and middle-income housing needs in Tillamook County. The committee partners with and works closely with the LOC lobbyists and promotes joint legislative priorities. Councilor McGinnis just continues to add value to our community and to the county. Let's see, City Planner Johnson submitted a funding application of approximately $4.8 million for construction of the north and south sections of the Salmonberry Trail in Rockaway Beach. In our trail through town, the middle section will be a mixed-use trail, and that is currently not allowed under the grant that we applied for. We're told that next funding round they're going to change that, but so we're just applying currently for the north and south ends of our segment of the Salmonberry Trail, which is exciting. If we get that money, we're locked and loaded, and we'll see the Salmonberry Trail come to life in Rockaway Beach. Chief Hesse and Captain Grace met with the American Red Cross this week to discuss the resources that the American Red Cross can provide. They do respond to disasters. They also have lots of programs, and the fire department will be hosting a training in November entitled Be Red Cross Ready. The fire department is also working with Red Cross to develop a smoke detector campaign and to educate the middle school on preparedness. The Planning Commission held its regular monthly meeting on Thursday night. They entertained a presentation by Cascadia Partners on the zoning code and comprehensive plan updates regarding Senate Bill 406 They also reviewed and approved a draft of our updated community grant program. And then I guess the last thing to mention is that the Neoconi School District requested and received a letter of support from me for a joint high school, middle school tsunami trail evacuation project. Pretty exciting stuff, I think, and really love our partnership with the school district. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for your report, and I'm especially excited to hear the last thing you mentioned, the Neoconi High School and Middle School submitting a grant application to work on a tsunami evacuation trail. That is excellent because, of course, the school right there is adjacent a trail. As far as I remember, it's adjacent to an evacuation trail. And last year during the Great American Shakeout, which is October 18th this year, also 10/18 at 10/18, the students from the school participated in the shakeout and evacuation event, and it was just outstanding. It was so great to have those students participate in that event. So I'm really heartened that the school and the students and the city are all getting involved in that. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, totally agree.
All right. Well, I thank you for your report. Good luck on the grants for the Salmonberry Trail. It is very exciting. We all hope that some parts of that trail are complete in our lifetimes. So I laugh because it's a huge project and very expensive for the whole trail, but I really believe we're going to see some parts of that trail complete in our lifetimes and maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, which is very exciting. So let's move on to the city of Garibaldi. Do we have anyone on from Garibaldi? I just got a message from Linda Kozlowski. Thank you, Linda. I misspoke. The Great Shakeout is 10/17 at 10/17, not 10/18. So I very much appreciate that update. 10/17 at 10/17 is the Great American Shakeout. Thanks, Linda. Do we have anybody on from Bay City?
Good morning. This is Leanne Welch. How are you?
Good morning, Leanne. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. So this morning at 9:30, we have coffee with the mayor here at City of Bay City. And our Boosters Club is graciously making coffee for us, and we've got some treats from the Bay City kitchen. So anybody who wants to come join us, please join us. On this Saturday, September 28th at 2 p.m., we're having a FEMA Biological Opinion Town Hall. I'd really like to thank Sarah Apster. She is going to be our guest speaker. And this is open to anybody in our community, not just Bay City. So she'll be going over what it means for all of us, hopefully specifically the properties in Bay City. But this will also reach out to other members in our community for how this might impact what might happen to their property. So everybody is welcome 2 o'clock this Saturday. One of the things that the Bay City Emergency Volunteers is working on is also getting ready for the Great Oregon Shakeout on 10/17 at 10/17. Not only the drop cover hold, but we're hoping that we will be having members at our assembly sites, and we'll have some treats and some snacks and taking a little bit of data for who's coming out. But I'm really happy to see across the county people taking emergency preparedness seriously. The Bay City Emergency Volunteers is also working on an emergency resource center. It's not a warming center. What we're trying to do is if we have a power outage of 12 hours or more here, maybe this winter, that there's some place for people, our citizens, to come and charge up their cell phones, have a warm cup of coffee or a cup of soup. And so that's what we're working on. So that is my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Will you tell us again the time and place for the open house on Saturday, the FEMA open house?
It is 2 o'clock here at Bay City City Hall this Saturday, September 28th. All are welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's a great idea. I appreciate it. Let's move on to the city of Tillamook. Nathan George, are you with us? don't think I heard from Nathan that he wasn't coming. Okay, so Nathan, if you're with us trying to unmute, I apologize. And with that, we will conclude this meeting. I'll thank KTIL as ever for broadcasting. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks to everyone for participating. Have a great day, Tillamook County. This meeting is adjourned at 9:04 a.m. Thanks, everyone.